Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second quarter 2025 Roanoke Division Video Town Hall. I'm Bill Marine, N2COP, Vice Director for the Roanoke Division, coming to you from my home QTH in Wilmington, North Carolina. We have a jam-packed show tonight with the major theme of how to make your field day successful. We've got just about 1 month left until we have that big famous event, Field Day. But before we get started, let's meet tonight's guests and participants, and we'll go down the list. First off tonight, we have Roanoke Division Director, Dr. Jim Boner, N2ZZ, coming in from his home in Aiken, South Carolina. Jim, good evening to you.
Good evening to you. Good evening to the entire Roanoke Division.
Thank you. And let's meet the 4 section managers who make up the 4 sections of the Roanoke Division. We have South Carolina Section Manager Matthew Crook, W1 MRC. Matthew, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Good to have you on board. Our West Virginia Section Manager, Dan Ringer, K8WV from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Good evening, all.
And from the state of North Carolina Section Manager Marv Hoffman, WA4NC from Boone.
Greetings from the high country.
And finally, last but not least, from the great Commonwealth of Virginia, Jack Smith from his home in Ruckersville, Virginia, KE4LWT. Jack, good evening to you.
Good evening.
And we have 2 special guests tonight. We have our most recent Roanoke Division Service Award winner, Mike Imoni, WA8AHZ from Fairfax, Virginia. Are you there, Mike?
Good evening. Thanks much for having me on the show.
Good to have you aboard. Stay by. We'll be having back to you in a second. And another special guest tonight coming to us from the studios of WBTW Television, Channel 13 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Gordon Mooneyhan, W4EGM. Gordon?
I am here, Bill.
All right, good. And you, in turn, have a special guest we'll be talking to a little later, correct?
Correct, Chief Meteorologist Frank Johnson, in a few minutes.
Wonderful. We look forward to that. Good. Good to have you both aboard from the studios at WBTW in Myrtle Beach. But before we get going, Jim and I want to take a moment and congratulate the 57th winner of the Roanoke Division Service Award. This award goes back to the year 1968 in its founding. It is a vote of members as to who it represents the best spirit of outreach and camaraderie in the Roanoke Division. And it is a privilege to have join us tonight the latest winner, Mike Imoni, WAAHZ. Mike, come on aboard.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the honor. To be blunt, I'm honored to be selected, but frankly humbled when I looked at the names of the previous distinguished award winners and that I'd be among such distinguished colleagues. I want to also thank Craig Kendall, WA3RGH, who submitted the nomination. He had asked a year ago for me to do this, and I said no, I had nothing that would be meritorious. He pestered me again this year, and I relented, not thinking that I'd be competitive, and here I am today. So you never know who will get it and who won't get it. So thank you very much for having me there.
Well, the judges are the living past members of the award, and we had 5 nominees this past time, all of them meritorious, but you stood out, and I think it's because of some of the innovative programs, Mike, that you have implemented at the Vienna Wireless Society, which is the largest amateur radio club in the state of Virginia. Can you tell us a little bit about your home club and some of the programs that you think that have really made Vienna Wireless and you stand out?
Well, thank you very much. I will, and I'll start with something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is I found that as Newham's matriculated into the hobby, They were a little bit lost with operating skills and frankly overwhelmed with antenna installations and radio selection, purchase selections, et cetera, et cetera. So our mentor group, we call them navigators, our navigators have a commitment for 1 year to help our young members move through that process. Some don't need a lot of help or wish a lot of help. Others will ask for more, and that's the purpose of navigators. And there's about 10 of those that, if you will, help new hams learn more about their hobby. Well, that led me to the next thing that I feel very strongly about is okay, so in Virginia, across all the 70 clubs that are generating VEs, doing testing and the like, as well as our wonderful online testing community that's across the United States, we generate about 800 new hams a year in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That seemed pretty big to me. But then I started looking at a number of hams who are leaving the hobby. And from my analysis, it looks like hams whose licensing grants are going to be expired and more than likely not going to pick up a renewal uh, is around 1,400 ham radio operators a year. So we're gaining 800, but we're losing 1,400. So we have a net loss of about 500 hams a year in the Commonwealth. And so one of the initiatives across the 70 clubs in Virginia is a letter writing campaign, reaching out to these hams before their licenses expire, offer them encouragement to connect back with the hobby, as well as helping them, should they need help, through the FCC gauntlet of renewal. Certainly, the ARRL will do that for their ARRL members. But if you're an ARRL member, you're probably not recalcitrant on renewing. I'm talking about the roughly 50% of all ham radio operators in Commonwealth of Virginia who are technicians. And probably other than the first month or 2 or 3 that they had a license, they'd never touched the hobby for another 9 years. I'm looking at trying to get that number 14,000 down to somewhere maybe the great opportunity number would be if we get that number down to about 700 so that the net growth was 100 instead of a net loss of 500. So those are kind of some of the initiatives that I get to oversee, not only within the Vienna Wireless Society, but also across the Commonwealth through the other clubs. Some other things in the VWS stall that we do, and other clubs do this just as well. We have a very strong maker group, and it's been picked up on several podcasts, and it's led to a significant increase in our membership outside of the state of folks who want to, if you will, build some of the builder kits that we do. And that's just another example, not mine. It's another teammate of mine in the Vienna Wireless Society that leads our maker group. We have an MCOM group, as you might imagine, and a public service group. Those two work very closely together in making sure that what we do in our public service events are reinforcing the emergency communication skills all of us should have in our toolbox if called upon. Okay, that's enough for me. Back to you.
Well, I think it's admirable, Mike, that you're working particularly with technician class licensees because they make up 51% of the entire amateur radio community, according to FCC statistics. So it's also, as you noted, the group with the largest non-renewal. So if you can get them engaged and move them forward, that's always beneficial. There's one more activity that you've spearheaded for Vienna Wireless Society. Again, for those just joining, the largest amateur radio club in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that is helping with silent key administration. Can you talk a little bit about that also?
Well, good. Thanks, Bill, for the segue into that. It's so natural to me as part of the background. We have, unfortunately, maybe 2 or 3 Vienna Wireless SKs a year. And incidentally, there aren't that whole lot of them across the whole Commonwealth, if you think back on it. not compared to the total number of those being expired. But in any event, our SK committee does three things for the family. Those that we know are getting towards that state in life, we begin to befriend the family and making sure that they know that upon the passing of the amateur radio operator, that we're there for them. We'll help safe the shack, make sure it's electrically safe, take down antennas. If they wish us to sell the equipment, we'll sell it, or if they wish to donate it to us, it fuels our Winterfest, Hamfest activities. But more importantly, we work with the spouse on canceling the FCC license, their QRZ webpage, putting a notice in QST, and if they're a member of something like, say, for example, Potomac Valley Radio Club, or more internationally, the Quarter Century Wireless Association, we report to those organizations the passing of their member as well as our member. So it's a full spot. It starts before the SK becomes an SK, at the SK event, and then with the family for the year after, as we hopefully sell significant radio assets for they and their estate. Bill, back to you.
Well, it's a service for which I know your club is very grateful, and I think it's an inspirational model that others can emulate. Mike, it's very evident to us why you were selected as the 57th winner of the Roanoke Division Service Award. Congratulations again. And before we let you go, a reminder to all viewers out there that the nomination period for the Roanoke Division Service Award is always the first quarter of the year. And the year it reflects is the immediate past year, because it reflects the body of work of the individual. To nominate somebody, all they need to be is living, an ARRL current member, and that they reside full-time, and their license address both are reflective of the Roanoke Division and the 4 states that within the division: North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. Mike, thanks for joining us this evening. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All right, so 73 to you. Let's get on to the main topic of the night: how to make your field day more successful. Before we get in some commentary, let's see if we can bring up some comments. And one of the things is, this is the way we had to do it here. Whoops, here we are. Bear with me a second. I know our producer, Brad Humphreys, is chuckling in the background at this. There we go. If your club has not already done so, please, please, please take a moment. If you're planning to have a publicly available site for field day, go ahead and list it on ARRL's Field Day Locator website. At this point, as best as we can estimate, only about 35 to 40% of the eventual 2025 field day sites have gone ahead and be listed. We, who are ARRL officials, use this page to plan our routes for the visits that we want to make on the field day. But it's not just us. It's also new hams, returning hams that may be visiting a local area, hams that may want to find out more about your club. If you want to get some traffic, this is the place in which to do it. And then tonight we're going to be talking, as we go do a round robin with the section managers of the 4 states, and based on their past experiences of field day visits, what are some of the things that you should be doing? And I've put up here 4 essentials to a successful field day. Number 1, we just talked about listing your site on ARRL's Field Day Locator webpage. But the second thing is, and I've heard this from numerous hams, that they feel uncomfortable when they go to a field day site and they find that operators are not wearing some kind of identification, meaning some kind of ID, some kind of hat that has their call sign on it. And so we're saying, please make an effort to emphasize to people coming off a field day that wear a badge, wear some kind of ID, a hat, a shirt with their call sign and their name, And also it would help if you may want to go to an office supply store, get some name labels and some black Sharpies. This is also for those who show up who may be visitors. And it's a chance for them. Suppose you get a public official. Suppose you get the mayor of your town, and people may not be familiar that it's the mayor. Why not fill out the mayor's name along with his or her title? Also, people just visiting, other hams that may be new to the hobby and haven't had the chance to order a badge yet. Over and over, I've heard, and other officials have heard, people feel far more comfortable and welcome if they know the name and the call sign of the person that they're talking to. Number 3, have a designated greeter. I think we've had experiences where we've gone to field day sites and operators are deep into working and nobody talks to visitors. That is really a shame, and it's a lost opportunity. We estimate that in many cases in towns that about sometimes as many as half of the active operators in a locality are not members of the local club. And when we query them, why aren't you a member of the local club? That the answer comes back that I don't feel particularly welcome. Make them feel welcome by wearing a badge, some kind of ID, and having somebody with a good personality greet them. And this goes, of course, for non-hams who may have an interest in the hobby or want to find out more. And the last essential tip we have there is at the very bottom. It's okay if your field day activities end prematurely, largely maybe due to adverse weather, maybe some other conditions. But if you have signed up for field day and people expect that you're going to be there through Sunday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, please have somebody in the club monitor the designated talk-in frequency. We've heard from people who are new hams, returning hams, that they put out a call on the designated talk-in frequency and nobody comes back to them. And they don't know why field day has ended early. It's a wonderful opportunity to extend an invitation to an upcoming club meeting and saying, well, we're sorry we ended field day early, but we'd love to have you come to our next club meeting so we can get to know you. So go ahead and do that. And this screen is just some fun facts. You may want to take a picture of this with your phone right now. This list, however, will be released next week in an upcoming Roanoke Division-wide newsletter. These are just fun things that you might be able to do to liven up your field day site. And I'm not going to go through them, but take a picture of it now. I'll leave it up for another 5 or 6 seconds, but also you'll see it in your email next week. And it's just a fun thing to do. So we'll take care of that. All right. Am I back on? Let's see. And there we are. All right. Did that come through okay? A little thumbs up, everybody? All right. Good. All right. So the next part of making field day successful is a case example. And to do that, we're going to go to Gordon Mooneyhan, W4EGM, on the weather set at the studios at WBTW TV in Myrtle Beach. For those of you who may not know Gordon, he is the ARRL South Carolina Public Information Coordinator. He is also a member of ARRL's National Public Relations Committee. He's a past winner of the Philip McGann Award, which is the highest honor bestowed by ARRL for those hams who do public relations outreach. He's also a published author. He has several books available through Amazon, and he is a very accomplished individual. So, Gordon, we're going to throw it over to you as to ways that you can show us how to promote field day. And are you there? Gordon, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's have our round robin with the section managers, and we'll come back to you. Are you there? We'll try one more time. Brad, you want to try one more time, see if Gordon's there? You there, Gordon? Not coming quite through. Let's do our round robin with the 4 section managers, and we'll try Gordon again. We'll kick it off with South Carolina Section Manager Matthew Crook, W1MRC. Matthew, what's going on in the Palmetto State?
We're definitely gearing up for field day. Like I said, we've had the bulk of our Hamfest tailgate season pretty much every weekend in April and a couple in May. So that kind of cools down until August. We'll start up with some more with Florence coming up. But yeah, it's pretty much gearing up, getting ready for field day. I know Bill's had several good tips listed. Bring your favorite, depending what type of antenna you're setting up, bring your favorite launcher, slingshot or air balls for your homebrew air balls. And definitely, like Bill mentioned, get them on the website, the field day locator. I'm going to look at the field day locator this upcoming week. I'll probably wait till June the 7th, give it about a week. Hopefully, pretty much everybody will have it listed. I did secure one of the ARRL field day banners, the 3x6 banner. And so out of the sites that are listed by next weekend, I'm going to just put them in a generator and randomly let it pick a club to send it to. So the only two stipulations is they have to be on the field day locator. And then if you could also just make sure your club is up to date on the ARRL Find a Club, at least the past 12 months. And I'll be sending, random draw one to send a banner to.
Hey, I know that you have a lot of Hamfest coming up in South Carolina. Any of those that you'll be getting a chance to get out to?
Yeah, we pretty much wrapped up our season. I made it to 3 out of the 5 that we had in April and May. And so we'll pick up again in August in Florence, but I'll definitely be at Florence. And October we'll have Rock Hill. And if any pop up between now and then, I'll before the end of the year, I'll definitely come out to those as well.
Great. Anything else in the South Carolina we should know about?
I think that's pretty much it. Just like I say, follow the. I just got the section report out yesterday, so you can go to the ARRLSC.org to pull the report to read stuff. Any questions or anything you need out of me, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to assist.
Great, Matthew. Thank you so much for that report from South Carolina. And by the way, congratulations on your anniversary, and thank you for taking time out for your anniversary to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see what's going on in the Mountaineer State with Dan Ringer, KAWV. Dan, what's going on is from your perch as the West Virginia section manager?
Well, we're at the northernmost end of the division and probably higher than most geologically or geographically. So we look down on the rest of you. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean is every good thing I can reference in that or whatever. But we too are getting ready for field day, except that I don't know where the locations are, because when I look at the field day locator, I don't see much in West Virginia. And there should be a dozen or more. And I know that sounds like a few in some of the larger states, but it's a lot of territory to cover if we flatten it out. In fact, if we flatten it out, we're bigger than Alaska, but we don't get to flatten it out. We've got coal companies doing that for us. I want to talk about location selection. So many field day sites are located on the top of the highest mountain or the furthest distance away from everybody else. And folks, that's not a good idea. You want to be obvious. Field day, I think, and I've heard it said that the purpose of field day is to be visible, to hold yourself out to the public, to let people come by, see what you're doing, talk to people, get them maybe interested in the hobby. And if you're on top of the highest mountain, that's not going to happen. I would like to see people setting up field day operations at truck stops and welcome centers on interstate highways, places like that, where people come through, they encounter us. They're not anticipating encountering us, but they see us anyway because we're kind of there and in their face. And maybe that will pique some interest. The other thing is at your club meetings, when you're doing your field day planning, stop and reflect on what the purpose of field day is. Sometimes I think that clubs just get together and say, want to set up a field day operation? Yeah, okay. And then we get down through the bands and say, you're on 80, you're on 40, you're on 15, you're on 10. And that's all the planning there is. And somebody says, well, let's bring a card table or let's bring a tent or something like that. It takes more planning than that. I want to reference this. This is the current issue of On the Air magazine. It's one of the ARRL publications. If you're a member, you can go on to ARRL.org and you can see it. And I paid particular attention to it this month because Field Day is coming, and there is a wealth of practical information in this month's. It covers a 2-month period. This particular issue is May and June of this year. There's a wealth of information in here. Sit down and look at the things that they suggest at headquarters that you do. By the way, On the Air is probably my favorite league publication right now. It's great for people who are just getting into the hobby, or people who have been in for a few years and maybe whose interest is waning. And the nice thing about it is, if you're a league member, you've got access to it online. You can read it on your tablet. You can read it on your cell phone. You might have to enlarge it a little bit, but it's great. And you'll learn about new things as they start. But there have been articles in there about how to select coax, the virtue of different antennas. If you float around on the internet and look at some of the chat groups, some of the most common questions asked are, do I want to use RG8? Do I want to use RG8X? Can I use that on 10 meters? Can I use it on 75 meters, etc.? There's just a lot of information in the magazine generally, but for Field Day in specific, there's a wealth of information there. And the other, well, I think that probably is enough from me, but get out, get planning, and think of it as terms as an emergency test. That's what Field Day is supposed to be, is how we can go out and get on the air quickly in response to a need to have us on the air. And if we're planning 6 months in advance, it's not the purpose of it. It's not the idea for it. The idea for it is to be able to grab your go bag or go box or whatever it is, and go and get on the air quickly and efficiently. I've been to some Field Day sites where there would be 6 operating positions and nobody is being worked because they didn't check out their equipment. The setup guys, the operators, did not check out their equipment in advance. It takes a little more planning than that, but it's something you should be able to do within 24 hours all year round. That's what makes us valuable, is that ability, if we have it. Bill, back to you.
Thank you, Dan. Very good remarks. And by the way, you reminded me that the June issue, let's get into focus here. The June issue of QST is the Field Day issue. And you raised an excellent point, Dan. If you're not receiving the print edition, every ARRL member has access to the 4 magazines of ARRL: QST, On the Air that you just referenced, Dan, the National Contest Journal, and QEX. And in the June issue is the 2025 Field Day Guide. It's an insert that actually you can even pull out and use it to plan your Field Day better. Well, thank you, Dan, again. Let's move to the mountains of North Carolina. By the way, Dan, I have a running gag with Marv Hoffman, the North Carolina section manager, WA4NC, because Marv will tell you what height he is. He's 3,000 something feet above sea level, and I'm on the coast. I'm 11 feet. So let's go over to our nosebleed friend, Marv, WA4NC. Marv, how are things in the mountains tonight?
Dreary. The weather up here in the high country has been something less than fantastic for the last several days. As everyone knows, North Carolina is a very large state. And, you know, the saying about from Murphy to Manteo, it's about 550 miles or something like that. So it's a real challenge to plan Field Day visits. And what we're finding too is that fewer sites, as Bill mentioned, fewer groups have already posted their plans. for field day. So it's making it harder for the public, for the section manager, division director, vice director, interested public, all of those people. The only way they're going to know about your field day operation is if you publicize it. So we're encouraging each of the clubs to get together quickly and get on the Facebook page for your group and on the ARRL field day locator page and publicize it. And in addition to the general publicity, we have urged the groups to reach out to the local officials. We have had a very important, valuable opportunity to get notice about what ham radio can do in emergencies. And we need to bring that message home more clearly and more fully to local government officials. So we're encouraging the clubs to reach out to their local elected officials, their county commissioners, their county emergency management. Some people, some groups really have not embraced as much as they could have that liaison function with local government. We've also urged the groups to reach out to local scout groups and use field day as an opportunity to encourage young people to work on merit badges. And, you know, while if we get a number of people present, we think that a number of kids would become more interested in ham radio, whether it's electronics or radios or computers or et cetera. Another thing we're looking to encourage people is to ask if they can set up at a public place. Too many times I think that groups pick a site that very few in the public would know how to find it. One of the instructions we're asking, and in the last couple of years, when I've made field day visits, I've had difficulty finding some places. So we're asking people in the information to put the lat longs in so that people can actually find some of these remote locations and use that as a way of encouraging people to get out and see ham radio in operation. So those are the things we're doing to encourage more and more of the clubs to get off the stick and get going as far as having the field day locator information. We've had several groups already say, well, you know, we're going to set up at 10 o'clock. We'll start operating at 2. We'll break for 6 o'clock for dinner and have a cookout. And about 7:30, we're going to fold up and go home. And that's not quite the spirit of ham radio that we're all hoping people will embrace more fully. So if you're going to be shutting down early, make it clear that you're going to shut down early. I had one visit last year where by the time I reached the place at 10 o'clock at night, everybody had gone home and they had not indicated that they were going to close up. They had indicated they would be operating all night long. So those are the things that the high country at 3,850 feet on a cloudy day come to my mind.
Marv, from 11 feet above sea level, thank you for those comments. And you raise a good point, Marv, a couple of points. One is that's why I said in there, please have somebody in the club or have members of the club monitor the designated talk-in frequency on 2 meters or 440. If you fold up early, it's okay. But there may be people out there like yourself, myself, I've gone and shown up at places that are supposed to be still operating and there's nobody there. So that very much is appreciated. And you raise another point, Marv, and that is, especially in the state of North Carolina, and this is not to demean in any way the wonderful response of South Carolina and the state of Virginia to Hurricane Helene, but by far and away, Western North Carolina showed the finest hour of what amateur radio could do in the response. So I'm saying this because awareness of the role of amateur radio is very large this year. And it's a great opportunity for a public field day site to capitalize upon that and really score some points in letting the public know what it is and who we are as a tax-free volunteer resource. So last but by no means least, to the Commonwealth of Virginia, to Jack Smith, KE4LWT, our Virginia section manager. Jack, what news do you bring from the Old Dominion state?
Well, some really good news from down in Southwest Virginia. FM Height had done a lot of the groundwork with the American Red Cross down there, so that during the floods that occurred, not during Hurricane Helene, but the second round that we had about a month after that, the Red Cross reached out to him, and he put together a team of people to go down and assist with the preliminary damage assessments. And I'll talk more about that here in a minute too. But that goes to what all the other gentlemen have already referred to before, which is making yourself aware or making others aware of your existence. And I'm going to try to do this where hopefully I don't screw this up too bad. I've got here we go. So this is a list of just the volunteer organizations active in disaster that obviously we support ourselves, but that look to us for communication support. Each state has those, and those are our customers. So make sure you reach out to them and in your state. And if you need a list of those, you can send me an email at ke4lwt@gmail, and I'll send you how to get to those. But reach out to those, make them aware of what we are, and that we are part of the National Response Framework to provide those communications resources to those organizations in areas that are communications challenged. Because remember, even in a lot of North Carolina, Southwest Virginia, throughout the Roanoke division, there are a lot of areas that on a good day have pitiful communications. So those disaster responders need communications. And that's our purpose in life, to provide that. The other thing is to remember that field day is a presentation and it's a job interview. You need to look like it and act like it, because when those emergency managers, the county board of supervisors, those officials from those VOADs, whatever, show up, they're expecting us to be able to perform our mission, and they want us to look like we can perform our mission. That's part of, that's all part of it. So I'm glad to see that everybody's really embracing that and really pushing it. And it's going to be a lot more critical in the years coming up, because in order to, especially with the preliminary damage assessments, that is what drives whether or not a county, or in Virginia, independent city gets declared as part of the disaster. And we see right now that there are a lot of states and counties that are really struggling to meet that requirement. And we managed to pull that off in Southwest Virginia by fielding people that could go down and assist with that. So get with your volunteer organizations active in disasters, get the training, and take part in everything you can with them to show that we can be that. I hate to use the term force multiplier, that gets overused, but we are a force multiplier. We help that county be able to field an extra 10, 20 people out in the county to do those preliminary damage assessments and get them turned in time so that they can go through the process to hopefully qualify for disaster declaration. And right now, going back to field day, we're showing 24 sites in Virginia as of today. Typically, those don't get really filled out again until about 2 weeks prior to. But same thing, make sure you're in a accessible location, and make sure that you're welcoming. When those people show up, smile, shake hands, show them around, tell them, under promise and over deliver. That's the other thing. Make sure that we show them what we can do in a realistic fashion. And I'm looking at the sites that I have right now, and probably be able to get to half a dozen sites. The next Hamfest event we have is the Manassas Tailgate on June, I can't remember, it's first week of June 7th. And then after that, there's about a 2-month hiatus before any more come up. So look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
All right, Jack. Thank you very much tonight for that wonderful report from Old Virginia, and our thanks to all the 4 section managers. Hey, before I put it on the anchor relay with Dr. Jim N2ZZ as the Roanoke Division Director, was somebody we all are of debt of gratitude tonight, and that is the producer of our show, Brad Humphreys, AE4VJ. Brad, get on camera for a second so we can all give you a little round of applause. There he is in the upper right corner. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Jim. A little round of applause. Brad is what makes this this format work, and we're very grateful, Brad. Thank you so much.
It depends on who you ask on whether it works.
Hey, we were supposed to have a special presentation tonight from Gordon Mooneyhan from WBTW. I'm looking at it looks as though Gordon, unfortunately, is not going to make it tonight.
It looks like Gordon has a DFO, done fell out.
Okay. So let's hear from Dr. Jim, and then we'll go to our Q&A chat session, Brad, if that's okay. Jim, take it away. What do you have from the division overview?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody that had to do with this program, everyone that has anything to do with the Roanoke Division. Thank you to the section managers. Thank you for all that you do. We really depend on you. And Bill, thank you very much. You are one of the best hosts of any program that I watch. But I don't watch very many programs, but I do like yours. And Brad, thanks again. Let's talk a little bit about Field Day. Pretty much everything has been said about Field Day. I spent this afternoon playing in the orchestra at a high school graduation, so you can believe I heard a lot of inspirational speeches. So I'd like to apply this to Field Day, but I will say I did hear something from one of the student leaders, either the salutatorian or the valedictorian, congratulating everyone on their high school degrees, because that gives them a 10% less chance of having to live in their parents' basement for any period of time. So that was one of their congratulations. Well, going back to Field Day, there's no single right way to do Field Day. Work with your club to make it what you want to be. Set goals. We're going to make Field Day exciting. Is this a year to attempt a satellite contact? Is this a year to try emergency power? Is this time to really get a GOTA station going and getting people involved in GOTA and make the proper invitation for the operators? Obviously, to make invitations to government officials and the rest. I had the chance to speak with Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson is previous to the league. He used to use the story that he was exiled in Newington. Well, he's come back to live at his home in the Roanoke Division in North Carolina, and I had a chance to talk with him last night. And Dan Henderson, Field Day was his baby. Whenever someone said Field Day at the league, Dan Henderson kind of had something to say about it. So he had a question he used to ask groups: who is the most important individual at a Field Day event? Well, I didn't know the answer, and then he told me it's the person who's in charge of the covered dish dinner. It sounds funny, but this is the highest participation in most Field Day events. So Field Day is a lot of things. I know you've heard the phrase, it's not a contest. Well, that's usually followed by a bunch of people saying why they think it is a contest. the term that I came up for it is, I can't believe it's not a contest, as to the margarine marketing that says, I can't believe it's not butter. As I mentioned before, it's what you make it. If you're a contester, you will treat it as a contest. You will go after the QSOs and the points. If you're part of the amateur radio emergency service areas, you will treat it as an exercise in which you set up an emergency station in the field. If you're a rag chewer, you might take a few shifts as operator or logger and help out with setting up or taking down the station. There's a place for everybody in field day. Your Roanoke Division leadership, Bill and all of the section managers, we like to travel on field day. I can tell you from being at the league, this is not the norm. Not everybody does that, and every one of us want to do the traveling. We want to go out there, meet you. We want you to see you, enjoy doing what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be constant operating. The big thing is the fact that everybody gets together. They get together to do the construction, get the station going. They come together for the dinner, but it's a big come together type of thing in which a lot of times we're kind of isolated and do things on our own, that we have a lot of camaraderie, and I truly enjoy that as I do ham fests. So please do the field day locator. We have to plan our visits, and right now I think all of us have our visits up in the air right now because we want to see who is interested in doing this. And make sure you have a talk-in station. I know it sounds like a low priority, and please offer someone that's willing to do a 24-hour cell phone contact. I think all of the section managers and Bill and I have been in a situation where we would go out of our way to get to a club that we were pretty sure was going to operate. And by the time we got there, they said, oh, it's starting to rain, so everybody left. Well, it cut down our ability to see some other places. And if we can at least, usually what will happen is when we're planning on coming to visit a club, we're going to let someone know about it. Just give us your contact information so that if there is a change, that we'll know to change our route. So enjoy field day. This is the time for this is the time for amateur radio to shine and for everybody to have a great time. And I think that's about it from here in Aiken, Bill. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Jim, and thank you for those inspirational remarks. You prompted me to remember that not many people realize that field day has been around since 1933, and this is the 87th year of field day. Now, I know right now there are engineers watching this who are saying, hey, the math doesn't compute, and you're right. And it doesn't, because amateur radio was off the air from 1942 to 1946. So there was no field day after 1941 until 1947. So you do the math, it's 87 years. But the point we're trying to make is that for 87 years, we have been a community resource. And it's time, especially because of the outstanding response of amateur radio to Hurricane Helene activities, that we remind the public of the community and tax-free volunteer resource that we are. So that's what we've got. All right, Brad, I think is it time for the chat feature and see if we have any questions that we should be answering tonight before we head out the door?
Yeah, we've got them running. Mostly it's pretty much just been comments. Casey here,
Okay. And we want to remind everybody that for those colleagues of yours who weren't able to join us for this live video session, immediately afterwards, it will be available on YouTube for on-demand viewing. And remember, the tips that we gave tonight on Field Day will be coming out as a division-wide newsletter next week.
So yeah, if anybody's got anything, go ahead and put them in there. We can we'll just scroll across. I've got that turned on, so as soon as you put them in. But I think everybody had some good information, and maybe we covered all the bases. But
yeah, I'm seeing good things tonight. Yeah. Can we put up the remark from Mark Bronstein, Brad? There.
that's a good one.
Jim, is this something I think that can you address? Because I know I saw some of the comments that were done with delete.
Yeah, there were several deletes that came out from our general counsel that were sent to the FCC. We have not received any feedback from the FCC. We're not really certain where that's going to go, but it looked like a lot of the comments that I looked at on the site were pretty much in line with what the ARRL put out. So, as usual, whenever we're dealing with the FCC, sometimes we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. But nothing right at this point has come out.
Yeah, agreed. And we have to remind folks, it wasn't just amateur radio responding. It was any organization or service that is regulated by the FCC. So not only were we filing comments for delete, so was broadcast radio, broadcast television, commercial two-way facilities, anything that is regulated by the FCC had to put comments in. All right. Gosh, we may get a chance to roll the outro tonight, Brad, on time for a change. And oh, you're muted.
Yeah, we're running a little ahead. We missed Gordon. I guess he had some more problems. I don't know what's.
Yeah. For those of you wondering, we'll bring back Gordon Mooneyhan, the South Carolina Public Information Coordinator, at a future time. And then don't forget, we run these town halls quarterly, and we try to put a theme. Some of the themes that we're going to have coming up will include STEM activities, science, technology, engineering, and math, and outreach to youth. And also we'll be talking probably in the third quarter about the overall change in VE, volunteer exams, to all digital format. October is the last time that paper exams will be accepted by ARRL as a way of testing, and other VECs, services that administer exams, are going digital too. And we'll have a lively conversation about that. Those are the really unsung heroes of amateur radio, because there would be no amateur radio if we didn't have, of course, have volunteer examiners in the field.
So no more wrong overlays on the answer sheet anymore.
Yeah.
I've been a victim of that. Gordon's back.
He's back. He's going to have to come in for just a little hello and goodbye. Gordon, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. We're going to have to schedule you again another time, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, we had some technical problems. Just want to say that I was at the studio because next month's QST there'll be an article about that.
Okay, that's right. You have an article that's being published in the upcoming July issue of QST. Congratulations on that. Yes. One more question, if I can, before we roll it out. Robert Giuliani, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. No, there very much is going to be in-person testing, but the testing will not be by paper exams. You'll be handed probably an electronic tablet on which you will enter the answers on the tablet, and they'll be graded instantaneously. You won't get your license if you're applying for the first time instantaneously, but you'll be taking it that way, Robert. I hope that answers it. But no more paper-based exams after October through ARRL. All right. Are we ready to roll on out of here, Brad?
Let's kick this pig.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. A big 73 to one and all.
Thanks.